The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Maria Delaney swept the oil-stained floor of Rifle Bay. 7. The smell of gunpowder and solvent clung to the air like ghosts that refused to leave. It was nearly midnight at the Navy SEAL training compound in Virginia Beach, and Maria was the only civilian in the entire weapons wing. That's how she liked it, quiet, empty, no questions, no eyes. She wore a faded Navy janitor uniform with a name tag she'd long since stopped looking at, was tied back in a tight bun, and her rubber gloves were already smeared with grime and carbon residue. With her headphones in, she hummed softly to a jazz instrumental playing on loop, a tune that calmed her nerves and kept her focused. Wipe, sweep, scrub, routine was her escape. The Rifle Bay was a sacred space for most operators. Each bench was designated to a specific SEAL team member. They were expected to clean and maintain their own weapons. But Maria had access for general sanitation, equipment checks, and restocking. She never touched anything personal, never crossed that line. But tonight, something shifted. As she leaned over to wipe down bench 14, Maria noticed a faint reflection in the polished scope of a dismantled carbine. Movement behind her. Her stomach tightened. She pulled out one earbud slowly and turned her head. Standing in the doorway was a SEAL, tall, built like a bulldozer wrapped in discipline. Tactical vest slung casually over his shoulder. He didn't speak. His eyes locked with her, steady, unreadable. Maria's heart thumped. Had she done something wrong? Was she in his way? He walked forward, boots thudding softly against the floor. In his hands was an all-black, custom-built M110 sniper rifle. She'd seen rifles like that before, but this one gleamed with personal modification. Suppressor, custom stock, advanced optics. Without a word, he placed the rifle on the cleaning table in front of her. Not roughly, not gently, just deliberate. Maria stood frozen. The silence in the room was thick. Her eyes met his again. Still, he said nothing. No instructions. No questions. Just that look. Then he stepped back. 2 steps. Arms behind his back, like he was waiting for something. She glanced at the weapon, then back at him. Sir, I think you're looking for the armorer, she said, voice barely above a whisper. He didn't move. Maria looked at the rifle again. She could see it was empty, but still, this was way outside her pay grade. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from something else. Muscle memory. Instinct. Curiosity. She reached out. The moment her fingers touched the stock, something deep inside her stirred. The rifle felt familiar. Heavy, but balanced. Warm from his hands. Like it belonged there. Her right hand slid under the body, supporting the weight, while her left instinctively tilted it toward the light. She glanced through the scope. A whisper of air left her lips. She knew this. Not just the weapon, the process, the posture, the silence. Her thumbs danced across the bolt, checked the safety, felt the trigger tension. Her breathing slowed, steady, controlled. She forgot about the SEAL. She forgot she was a janitor. She was holding a rifle. Again, for the first time in 15 years, a low voice broke the silence. You've done this before. Maria blinked, looked up. The SEAL had taken a few more steps back now, hands still behind him, watching her like a soldier evaluating a fellow operator. She nodded slowly, cautiously. A long time ago. He said nothing, just studied her. Who are you? She asked finally, trying to hide the edge in her voice. Instead of answering, he walked over, took the rifle back gently, and gave a curt nod. Then he turned and walked out of the bay, leaving her alone. Stunned. Maria stood there, heart pounding, staring at the space where he had been. It wasn't just a weird encounter. It was deliberate. Someone had seen her, not as a janitor, but as Something more. As she put her earbuds back in, the jazz tune didn't quite drown out the storm rising inside her. Her hands still tingled from the grip. Her muscles felt alive in a way they hadn't in years. Her past wasn't just knocking, it was barging in without permission. She tried to shake it off and returned to scrubbing the table. But everything felt different now. Somehow, one moment a single rifle placed in her hands had cracked open a door she'd sealed shut years ago. And Maria Delaney had no idea what was about to walk through it. The next night, Maria returned to Rifle Bay 7 early, arriving 30 minutes before her shift officially began. She told herself it was to get ahead of the cleaning, but in truth, her mind hadn't let go of what happened the night before. The rifle, the seal, the way it had felt in her hands. That moment had replayed in her mind on a loop all day. She stood for a moment in the doorway, scanning the bay. Empty, quiet, safe. The benches gleamed from her previous cleaning, tools lined up neatly on the side. Nothing seemed out of place. But something in the air felt different, charged, anticipating. Maria took a deep breath and entered, pulling her cart behind her. She pushed her thoughts aside, grabbing a fresh cloth and starting on the sidewalls. The scent of CLP gun cleaner still clung to the corners. As she reached bench 14, her breath caught. The same M110 sniper rifle sat there, clean, loaded with a dummy magazine. A folded paper lay beneath it. She hesitated, looked around. Still alone. She unfolded the paper with gloved hands. The handwriting was clean and precise. It read, Bay 3, 10 p.m. Don't be late. Knox. Maria stared at the note. Knox, that was his name. She hadn't even known that until now. She glanced at the clock. 9:43 p.m. Her gut twisted. She shouldn't go. This wasn't part of her job. She could lose everything. She had a son, a paycheck, a fragile piece she'd finally built. But the rifle still called to something within her, something ancient and alive. Exactly 10 p.m. She opened the door to Bay 3. Inside stood Knox, in full tactical attire, arms crossed. Behind him was a long-range shooting lane clearly used for precision training. The lights were dimmed, and a lone target stood 600 yards downrange. A different rifle sat on the table, this time sleek, deadly, waiting. You came, he said without a smile, but with something in his tone that sounded like satisfaction. Maria closed the door behind her. What is this? A test, Knox replied simply. She frowned. I'm not a SEAL. I'm not anything. You're more than a janitor, he said. I saw the way you handled that rifle. You didn't just clean it. You understood it. Like it was part of you. Maria glanced at the weapon on the table. Knox stepped aside. Take the shot. You've got 5 minutes. She shook her head. I haven't done this in over a decade. All the more reason to see if it's still in you. Maria hesitated. Her hands were already moving before her mind had caught up. She took off her gloves, touched the rifle. The moment her fingers wrapped around the grip, something clicked. Her stance adjusted automatically. Muscle memory, honed from years of hidden practice in another life, returned like a river breaking through a cracked dam. She lay prone, adjusted the bipod, checked the wind flags, breathed in. Knox said nothing. The world narrowed to her, the rifle and the target. She aligned the reticle. Her breath slowed. Her body went still. Exhale. Trigger. Squeeze. Bang. The shot echoed through the empty bay. Knox walked slowly to the digital monitor. Bullseye. Maria sat up slowly, heart pounding, not from effort, but from the shock of what she'd just done. Knox turned the screen so she could see. Dead center. She blinked at it. Beginner's luck. He smirked. Beginners don't group like that. You don't even know me, she said, standing. I know enough, he replied. You're hiding something, something valuable. Maria folded her arms. I'm just here to clean floors. You're wasting your gift, Knox said. And I don't believe you came back here tonight just because of a note. That struck a nerve. She looked down. You're right, she said softly. My father was a Marine sniper. Retired early, trained me to shoot when I was barely 12. By 16, I was winning competitions. Then, my brother enlisted, went to Afghanistan, never came back. After that, I put everything away. The guns, the trophies, the girl I used to be. Knox was quiet for a moment. Then he said, And what's left now? Maria stared at the floor. Just someone trying to survive. He nodded, eyes thoughtful. Then let's start there? She looked up, confused. Start what? He turned to leave. Come back tomorrow, same time. Bring your hands, your instincts, and nothing else. Maria stood frozen, mind spinning. She knew she should walk away, but instead, she watched him disappear through the exit. Alone again, she looked back at the rifle, and the monitor still glowing with her shot. Weapon didn't lie dot, and neither did the fire rising quietly in her chest. That night, Maria walked home under a sky full of stars, more awake than she had been in years. Maria returned the next night, precisely at 10 p.m., as instructed. She told herself it was a mistake, that she should focus on her job and avoid these secretive sessions with Knox. But the truth pulled stronger than reason. A feeling had ignited. Inside her a blend of purpose, adrenaline, and something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Bay 3 was dim again, the overhead lights humming low. Knox stood near the bench, arms crossed, a faint smirk on his face as she entered. This time, 2 rifles were laid out. One was clearly hers for the night. Thought you wouldn't come, he said. I almost didn't, she replied. But then I realized I haven't been this alive in maybe ever. Knox chuckled. That's usually the first sign that you're meant for this. They began with basic drills. Maria ran through dry fire movements, breathing control, and target acquisition. Knox observed without comment, occasionally stepping in to adjust her elbow or stance, but mostly staying out of her way. You're still sharp, he admitted. After a while, even after all these years, I had a good teacher, Maria replied, not needing to say her father's name. After an hour, Knox brought out a series of smaller silhouette targets, standard SEAL qualification cutouts. Shoot. 5 rounds, 1 shot per target, left to right. Focus on speed and control, he said. Maria nodded. No words, just breath. She took position, sighted, and fired. Bang, 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 bang. All 5 shots rang out within seconds, each hitting center mass. Knox walked downrange to inspect. When he returned, he didn't say anything, just handed her a small slip of paper. On it was written, Don't think, just trust your training. She recognized the phrase. It was something her father used to say when she froze in competitions. It hit harder than she expected. How do you know that? She asked, eyes narrowing. I did some digging, Knox admitted. You're not invisible, Maria. You just stopped looking in mirrors. She looked away, uncomfortable. I never wanted attention. Then why are you here? He asked pointedly. Maria didn't answer. Knox stepped closer. I'm not asking you to be a SEAL. You've got your own battle. But you've got something real and rare. People need to see it. I'm not trying to impress anyone, she said defensively. Good, then you're ready to teach. Maria blinked. Teach? He nodded. There are a few recruits struggling with marksmanship. Real potential, but they need more than standard training. You could help. I'm a janitor, she said, repeating it like a shield. You're a shooter, he corrected. And they need someone who understands fear, failure, and how to climb back from it. That's you. She stood in silence. Could she do this? What? If I say no, she asked. Then nothing changes, Knox said. You clean floors. They miss their shots, and everyone walks away in the dark. But if you say yes, who knows? Maria looked at the rifles, then at her hands. They didn't shake anymore. Instead, they felt grounded, solid, ready. I'll think about it, she whispered. Fair, Knox said, stepping aside as she packed up. He added, you should know something. People are already talking. She froze. What do you mean? Word gets around, he said. Someone saw you hit that bullseye the first night. Recruits are whispering about the janitor sniper. Maria closed her eyes, cursing under her breath. That's the last thing I need. That's exactly why you need to step into it, Knox said. You can shape the story or let them shape it for you. Maria walked home that night, replaying his words. For the first time in years, she wasn't hiding from her past. She was walking beside it. The next night, she entered Bay 7 to clean as usual. As she began scrubbing bench 12, a young recruit entered nervously. Ma'am? He said. She turned, surprised. Sorry to bother you, but is it true you helped Chief Knox with those long-range drills? Maria paused, cloth in hand. Maybe. Why? He rubbed his neck awkwardly. I've been missing every shot past 400 yards. They're talking about dropping me. Could you show me how to breathe like you do? Just once? Maria sighed. This was exactly what she feared, but also exactly what Knox had predicted. She set down the cloth and looked at him. Come back here at 10 tomorrow. Don't tell anyone. He lit up. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. As he left, Maria shook her head and smiled faintly. The whispers were already working, and suddenly she wasn't so afraid of them. Maria sat on a low wooden crate in Bay 3, watching the recruit from the night before load dummy rounds into a training rifle. His hands trembled. His breathing was shallow. She recognized all of it: nerves, pressure, fear of failure. Not the fear of being shot, but the fear of being seen trying and still not measuring up. You're holding your breath, she said gently. He looked up, startled. I thought I was supposed to. Maria stood, walked over, and knelt beside him. That's why you're missing. Don't hold it. Control it. She guided him through a breathing pattern. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Then pause, steady finger. Light trigger. Bang. The recruit blinked. He hit the outer edge of the target, better than his usual misses. Again, Maria said. He adjusted. Fired. Again. Closer this time. They spent an hour working in silence. No barking orders. No ego. Just correction and calm confidence. Maria wasn't trying to impress him. She was trying to pull something out of him, something she knew lived beneath the surface. By the end of the session, his grouping tightened. Not perfect, but promising. He stood up, eyes wide with gratitude. Thank you. Nobody explained it like that before. She gave a slight nod. You've got it in you. Just don't rush it. Can I come back tomorrow? He asked. Maria hesitated, but then nodded. Bring 2 friends, ones who want to learn. And no word of this outside Bay 3. The next night, there were 3. By the end of the week, 5. Every night at 10 p.m. She quietly taught them breathing, trigger discipline, and focus. She even wrote down mental exercises her father had drilled into her years ago. Knox showed up occasionally, but never interfered. Just leaned on the wall and watched. One night, after the session ended and the recruits left, Knox approached her. You're doing it. Maria wiped her hands with a cloth. Doing what? Changing them. And maybe changing yourself too. Maria sighed. I didn't plan this. You didn't need to. he said. This was always in you. She sat on the bench, exhausted but satisfied. I spent so long hiding from this, from everything. Knox sat across from her. Why? She didn't speak for a long moment. Then she looked at him. My brother, Danny. He was the better shooter. The better everything. After my father got sick, I trained harder just to feel close to them. But when Danny died in Afghanistan, it broke my mom. Broke me too. I put the rifles away. Got a job. Raised my son. Tried to be small. Knox nodded quietly, absorbing her words. You survived. That takes its own kind of strength. She glanced at him. You ever lose someone? He stared at the floor. Too many. You stop counting. After a while. But some names stick with you. Silence passed between them. A heavy, respectful silence. Then Knox said, You don't have to keep hiding behind that mop, Maria. She chuckled softly. I don't mind cleaning. It's simple. Predictable. But you're not simple, he replied. And now? People are noticing. She gave him a sideways glance. Who? The commander. A few instructors. One of your recruits scored perfect marks on his latest eval. Said you were the reason. Maria frowned. I told them to keep. This quiet. Knox smiled. Recruits talk. Excellence doesn't stay hidden for long. She stood, grabbing her gear. I'm not looking for attention. You might not have a choice soon, he said. But when it comes, make sure it's on your terms. That night, Maria walked home differently. Shoulders straighter. Head higher. But the next morning, her phone rang. It was base administration. She was summoned to the commander's office. Her stomach dropped. Was this it? Was she about to be fired? She wore her standard uniform, pressed it neatly, and walked to the command building with every step filled with dread. She hadn't told anyone but Knox. Maybe someone filed a complaint. Maybe helping those trainees was a bigger mistake than... She realized. The front desk clerk pointed her toward a conference room. When she entered, she was surprised to find not just the commander, but a sharply dressed officer from Washington, wearing a Department of Defense lapel pin. Knox stood quietly in the corner, arms folded. The commander spoke first. Ms. Delaney, have a seat. She did, palms sweating. You've been working here over a year, he said. No incidents. Clean record, reliable, quiet. Maria nodded. Slowly, unsure where this was going. The DOD officer leaned forward. We've been reviewing the recent training footage of a few SEAL candidates. Unusual improvements. Consistency. Mindset shift. Your name came up more than once. I wasn't trying to, Maria began, but the commander raised a hand. We're not here to scold you. She blinked. The DOD rep smiled. Quite the opposite. We'd like to offer you a civilian consultant position. Firearms fundamentals and long-range discipline. You wouldn't be part of the SEAL command structure, but your work would be official and compensated. Maria's jaw slackened. Why me? Knox finally spoke. Because we've all seen what you can do. And more importantly, what you help others do. She stared at the table. A flood of emotion surged: fear, pride, confusion. Need time, she said honestly. Take what you need, the commander replied. But don't take too long. People like you, we don't meet them often. As Maria left the room, Knox caught up beside her. Well? He asked. She didn't answer, but she was smiling. Maria didn't say yes right away. She needed time to process everything. The offer from the Department of Defense wasn't just a job, it was a pivot point. One she hadn't expected and wasn't sure she deserved. For years, she'd convinced herself she was just a background figure, a silent worker, a shadow. But now, even the shadows couldn't hide her light. For a week, she continued cleaning by day and teaching quietly by night. Bay 3 had become an unofficial classroom. 5 SEAL. Recruits met her there every evening, arriving discreetly and always staying after regular hours. Word had spread, but not too far, just far enough to bring in those who truly wanted to improve. They came for marksmanship help. They stayed because Maria gave them something they didn't get from most instructors' patience. She taught with care, not command. She didn't yell. She explained. When someone missed a shot, she didn't criticize, she asked questions. She taught them to think before pulling the trigger, to see the battlefield beyond the scope. And it worked, each night. Their confidence grew. Their grouping tightened. One even set a record during a qualification test, besting his previous high by 40%. Knox visited often, but stayed in the background. He never took credit. Just watched Maria in her element, nodding with quiet pride. He knew she was doing something special, something irreplaceable. One night, after dismissing her 5 recruits, Maria stayed behind to clean up. She realigned rifles, swept the brass shells into a bin, and wiped the benches down. She wasn't required to. She just didn't want the room to lose its dignity. As she worked, Knox appeared in the doorway with 2 steaming cups of coffee. "You looked like you could use this," he said. She smiled, taking one. "Thanks. I might be developing a caffeine dependency." He chuckled. "That makes 2 of us." They sat side by side on a bench in silence for a few moments. Finally, Knox said, "You know, they're calling you something now." Maria sipped her coffee. "What?" The whisper. She raised an eyebrow. He smirked. "Because you never yell, but somehow your words stick harder than any drill sergeant's." She laughed. "That's better than janitor sniper, I suppose." "You're doing more than training shooters," Knox said seriously. "You're building soldiers who think. That's rare." Maria looked down at her cup. "It scares me." "What does?" "That I like this," she admitted. "That maybe I missed it more than I ever admitted. The rifles, the calm, the purpose." Knox nodded. "That's not fear. That's memory waking up." She exhaled. "I used to think that part of me died with my brother. But lately, I feel like he's here again. In every breath, every trigger pull, every time I tell one of those kids, slow down. He used to say that to me." "He'd be proud," Knox said. They sat in silence again, letting the weight of that statement hang in the air. The next day, Maria walked into her cleaning shift, only to be stopped by a uniformed officer outside the bay. Double quotes, "Ms. Delaney," he said. "You're needed at the command office. Immediately." She felt her heart clench. Had she crossed a line? But when she entered the office, the base commander stood waiting with a half smile. "Good news," he said. "We've processed your clearance. The role is yours. Consultant, Marksmanship Fundamentals and Civilian Training Specialist." Maria blinked. "Already?" "I thought, Washington moves fast when they find someone useful," he said. "And we're expanding your scope, not just SEALs. We're starting a pilot program for base personnel and civilian dependents' families of service members. You'll help train them. Safety, discipline, precision." Maria stood speechless. "It's voluntary," he added, "but paid. Flexible. Hours. Full clearance access to training grounds. And you'll still be able to work your regular shifts if you want." "If I want?" She repeated. He smiled. "Maria, it's your call now." That evening, she didn't show up with a mop. She arrived wearing a simple black polo, embroidered with the naval training insignia and her name stitched in bold white. M. Delaney, Consultant, Long Range Training. The recruit stood straighter when she entered Bay 3. Knox, watching from across the room, gave a subtle nod. Maria looked at the 5 young men she'd been guiding. Then she glanced down the firing range. Calm, focused, right where she belonged. "No targets tonight," she said. They looked confused. You've earned a rest. Tonight, we talk about why you shoot, not just how. They listened in silence. As she spoke about responsibility, restraint, and respect for the weapon. About understanding fear, not erasing it, but learning how to breathe through it. And when the hour was over, one of the recruits, normally the quietest, stood and saluted her. "Thank you, ma'am," he said. "You made me believe I could do this," Maria smiled gently. "You always could. You just needed someone to say it." As they filed out, Knox approached, arms crossed. "You said yes." She nodded. "Regret it?" "Not even close." He handed her a small patch. Black thread. On dark green. A crosshair, embroidered with a feather underneath. "What's this?" she asked. "A nickname deserves a patch," he grinned. "For the whisper." She stared at it. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to feel proud. Maria stood in front of the mirror in the tiny base bathroom, adjusting the collar of her new polo. The embroidered patch, the whisper, rested just above her heart. It wasn't official Navy issue, but the meaning it carried was worth more than rank or ribbons. Every stitch reminded her that she hadn't just returned to her past, she'd transformed it. Still, the nerves hadn't entirely disappeared. Her role, while unofficial at first, was now fully sanctioned and recognized by the Department of Defense. People who used to walk past her without a glance now offered nods of respect. But the sudden attention brought something she hadn't felt in years. Pressure. As she walked toward the training field that morning, her name echoed over the intercom. "Miss Maria Delaney, please report to the command center. Immediate." Her stomach twisted. She picked up her pace. Had she stepped out of line again? Did someone complain about her methods? Or worse, had something happened to her son? At the command building, a Marine guard opened the door before she knocked. Inside, the atmosphere was different. The usual stiffness was replaced by quiet urgency. She spotted Knox near the window, face serious, arms crossed. The base commander looked up. "Maria, take a seat." She sat down slowly, confused by the tension in the room. He continued, "We've got a situation unfolding in Norfolk. An armed individual has breached the perimeter of the Military Youth Training Academy. Initial reports suggest he's carrying an assault rifle and is holding several students and staff inside." Maria stiffened. "Is this some kind of drill?" Knox shook his head. "Real, live, active." Her throat tightened. "Where's the response team?" The commander's jaw flexed. "Our closest SEAL unit is deployed on the coast. Norfolk PD's SWAT is delayed. Every second counts." Knox leaned forward. "We need someone who can make the shot. One clean round, maximum distance, no time for second chances." The realization hit her like a wave. "You want me to take the shot?" She whispered. The room went silent. "You're the closest marksman on base," the commander said. "And from what I've heard, the best." Maria's breath caught. Every cell in her body screamed caution. This wasn't training. This was life and death. The shot wouldn't just carry consequences, it would carry lives. "I haven't fired live in combat conditions," she said. Knox stepped closer. "You've trained for this your whole life. You don't need a uniform. You need trust in yourself." Her mind raced. She thought of her son, sleeping at home. She thought of her father, her brother, every hour she'd spent in silence training. Recruits who needed a chance. She looked at the commander. "Gear me up." 20 minutes later, she was in the back of a tactical vehicle, racing toward Norfolk, Knox beside her. He handed her a matte black rifle case. Inside lay his personal suppressed M110 rifle, the same one he'd placed in her hands the night this all began. "I zeroed it this morning," he said. "Wind's low. Humidity's stable. I trust this weapon, but I trust you more." Maria ran her hand along the frame. Thanks for not asking me to do this. I didn't have to, he replied. You were already there. They arrived at a nearby rooftop, across from the academy building. Police had created a perimeter, but no tactical team had moved in. Maria climbed the fire escape 2 rungs at a time, rifle slung over her shoulder. Focus razor dash sharp dot at the top. She dropped to her stomach and crawled to the edge. Knox handed her a spotter scope. She scanned the building dot in the 2nd floor. Window, partially covered by a broken blind, stood the suspect nervous, pacing, armed, sweating. 3 feet behind him, 2 students crouched, terrified. Knox whispered, "You've got 1 shot. Windows 720 yards. Slight elevation. I'll call wind." Maria lay prone. Rifle locked on. Breath slowed. Heart steady. The world narrowed dash again dot like in Bay 3, like in competition. Like her father used to say, breathe, settle, choose, deliver. The crosshair floated over the man's chest. She adjusted. Her finger touched the trigger dot, exhale, dot bang dot. The rifle kicked. The suppressed shot barely echoed. Downrange, the suspect collapsed instantly. Clean hit. Between the eyes, the students scrambled. To safety seconds later. Cheers erupted from below. Maria lowered the rifle and let out a shaky breath. Her hands were steady, but her eyes welled. Knox placed a hand on her shoulder. "You just saved lives." She nodded, not trusting her voice. They stayed on the rooftop until command confirmed the building was clear. By the time they descended, media trucks had begun to arrive. Cameras, reporters. Questions. Knox moved in front of her. "You don't have to talk to them." "I know," she said. "Let them make up their stories. I know the truth." They drove back in silence. Back on base, Maria stepped into Bay 3 that night, not to teach, but to sit. Alone, quiet. She placed the whisper patch gently on the bench beside her. She thought of Danny, of her son, of the path she never meant to walk and now wouldn't trade for anything. She wasn't just someone who used to shoot. She was someone who shows others how to live. 2 days after the Norfolk rescue, Maria sat on a metal bench outside the base's main operations building. The sun hadn't risen yet, but the courtyard buzzed with activity. Uniforms moved briskly, radios chattered, but none of it touched her. She was still centered, calm yet haunted. Her phone buzzed. Ben saw the news. "Mom, was that you?" She stared at the screen, thumbs frozen. He knew. Of course he did. A clean shot like that didn't go unnoticed. For years she tried to stay invisible, but one bullet changed that. She typed back, "We'll talk when I get home." And then she pressed send. Knox approached quietly and sat beside her. He didn't speak right away. Just passed her a to-go. Cup of coffee black, like she liked it. "They're calling you a hero," he finally said. Maria smirked. "Funny. 2 months ago, I was mopping floors. And 2 months before that, you were running from a past you never deserved to run from." She turned to him. "I didn't do it for glory." "I know," Knox said. "That's what makes it real." He pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked. "Orders." Maria raised an eyebrow. He nodded. "Unofficial, but from command. They want to offer you a civilian instructor position. Permanent. You'd run your own sharpshooting division under my program." Maria unfolded the paper and scanned it. Her heart beat faster. It wasn't just validation. It was a new life. "They're serious?" she asked. "They're dead serious. You're not just a good shot, Maria, you're a good leader. And they've seen the results." She folded the paper again, but slowly. "What about the janitor job?" Knox laughed. "That mop was always too light for you anyway." Maria sipped the coffee and leaned back, letting the quiet seep in. She thought about the girl she was, the mother she became, and the soldier she'd buried deep inside. No. All three versions were walking beside her. Later that day, she stepped into Bay 3, not to clean but to train. A group of 5 recruits waited near the firing lanes, standing straighter than usual. They'd heard the stories. Some had even seen the grainy footage. Maria didn't address it. She simply set up the targets, adjusted their stances, and did what she always did. Taught. But today, something was different. They listened harder, focused sharper, and after each correction, they nodded not out of fear or obligation, but out of respect. Midway through the session, a young recruit named Travis hesitated before taking his shot. Maria moved beside him, calm and close. "Close your eyes," she said gently. He frowned. "But just do it." He obeyed. "Now breathe. Picture the bullet's path. You've done the work. Now trust it." He opened his eyes, focused, and fired. Center mass. He let out a stunned laugh. "I did." You did," Maria said. "Now do it again." By the end of the session, all 5 had improved. But more than that, they carried something new, a belief in themselves. Later, Knox found her locking up the range. "You're making waves," he said, even Command's noticing. "I'm not trying to make waves," she replied. "Exactly. Why, you are." He held out a manila envelope. "This came for you." She opened it and found a medal, unofficial but deeply meaningful. Engraved on the back, "One shot, countless lives." Beneath the medal was a handwritten note from the base commander. "Thank you for reminding us that warriors don't always wear uniforms." Maria stood quietly for a moment, reading the words again. Then she closed the envelope, placed it in her bag, and turned to Knox. "I'll take the job." He smiled, calm and proud. "You already have." That night, she returned home. Ben sat on the couch, scrolling his phone, a furrow between his brows. He looked up as she walked in. "It's all over the internet," he said. "The shot. Rescue. They called you the Whisper." She sat beside him. "It's true," she said. "I was there." "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, voice breaking. "Because I didn't know how," she admitted. "I thought I was protecting you, but I think I was just afraid." He looked at her, and then to her surprise, hugged her tightly. "I'm proud of you, Mom," he said. "So proud." She held him close, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Not for the past, not for what was lost, but for what was finally found. 3 months later, the training compound buzzed with something rare. Celebration. Flags lined the walkway to Bay 3, where folding chairs had been set up under a clear blue sky. Recruits stood in formation. Officers mingled with instructors. And at the center, a small wooden platform bore a bronze plaque, freshly mounted. In honor of Maria Delaney, instructor, guardian, Whisper. Maria stood off to the side, uncomfortable in the spotlight. She wore clean slacks and a crisp navy blue blouse, simple, strong, quietly confident. The patch on her arm was no longer borrowed. It was earned. And beneath it was her name officially embroidered. Knox stepped to the mic. "Some warriors carry rifles. Others carry silence. But the rarest ones carry both, and know exactly when to use them." A ripple of respectful applause followed. He turned toward her. "I met Maria Delaney when she was cleaning the rifle bay. That day, I saw something in her most people miss, not fear, not anger, but restraint, discipline, strength, and above all, purpose." He paused. "She didn't come here to be noticed. She came here to live quietly." But fate and a little courage had other plans. More applause. Cameras clicked. But Maria didn't shift, and Knox held up a small, dark box. "By order of the Department of Defense, and in recognition of her service, bravery, and contribution to national safety, we present Maria Delaney with the Civilian Marksmanship Distinguished Service Medal. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. That medal was almost never given to civilians. Only those who saved lives, without ever being sworn in. Maria stepped forward, as Knox placed the medal around her neck. Their eyes met no words, just shared understanding. She wasn't there for glory. She never would be. But she was finally seen. After the ceremony, reporters tried to swarm her. She gave a polite nod and kept walking. Cameras could chase stories, but she had more important things to do. Back in Bay 3, the lights were dim. A new class of recruits waited silently. Maria walked in, medal still around her neck. She glanced at them, all eager and young. Then, without saying a word, she reached up and removed the medal. She placed it inside a glass case mounted on the wall and closed it gently. Underneath, etched in black, for the shot heard by no one, but felt by everyone. She turned to the class. "You're not here to win medals," she said. "You're here to earn trust, in yourselves, in each other." In the silence between shots, one recruit raised a hand. "Ma'am, is it true you made the shot from 700 yards in one breath?" She raised an eyebrow. It wasn't the breath that mattered. It was the belief before it. They nodded, silently absorbing her words. Maria didn't tell war stories. She built warriors quietly, methodically, and with the same discipline that had once saved her own soul at home. Life took on a new rhythm. Ben was thriving. He joined a STEM club, stopped getting into fights, and had even expressed interest in enrolling in junior ROTC. One evening, while washing dishes, he asked, "Mom, do you ever miss who you used to be?" Maria dried a plate and smiled. "Sometimes. But then I look around and see what I've become instead." He nodded thoughtfully. "When I grow up, I want to be like you." She looked at him, her heart swelling. "Then be better than me. Learn from my mistakes. Lead with purpose." That weekend, they went to the range together for the first time. Ben adjusted the scope, took a breath, and fired. His grouping was tight, his form solid. Maria stood behind him, arms crossed, a quiet smile on her face. "You've got the hands for it," she said. "But don't forget, this isn't just about the shot. It's about knowing when not to take it." He turned to her, grinning. "I know. You taught me that." Months passed, seasons changed. Maria never sought higher rank, never asked for more medals. What she did ask for was more recruits, more lost souls, like she once was, searching for direction. She became a mentor to many, a mystery to some, and a legend to few. One day, a letter arrived at her door. It was from Danny. "Maria, I heard what happened. I saw the ceremony. I never told you this, but I always knew you were the better shot, the better heart, the better everything. I'm sorry for how I left. You didn't deserve silence. But maybe now you understand why I gave it to you. If you're willing to talk, I'd like to visit." Danny. She folded the letter and placed it beside her father's photo. No anger, no regret, just peace. That evening, Maria sat alone on the range after sunset. Wind was low, air still. She laid down, rifle beside her, and looked through the scope, not at a target, but at the horizon. She whispered to the silence, "Thank you." And somewhere, perhaps in the breeze or the starlight, the world whispered back. She was no longer just a whisper. She was the echo that taught others to listen.